Hey, so here I am at London Bridge Station. I'm leaving London for a little bit of time. I'm about to get a train to Gatwick Station, where I'm going to get a plane to Vienna. Vienna, Austria. Not Australia, as Jim Carrey said in the movie Dumb and Dumber.
That's a lovely accent you have. New Jersey?
Austria.
Austria? Well then, good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Let's not.
Quite excited. Haven't been to Vienna before, so it will be a sort of I'm going to basically let you experience what I experienced in Vienna. So join me on this journey and let's have a good time. I've just arrived in Vienna, so now I have to go find a bus or a train to get to the centre, and then I have to find my place to stay. So the journey begins. Join me.
I never knew the old Vienna before the war with its Strauss music, its glamour and easy charm. Constantinople suited me better.
Okay, so I got a bus from the station and I got dropped off at the centre. Problem is, I now had to take a tram. The trams only accept cash. So as soon as I got on the tram, I realised I was going the wrong way. Plus, I didn't have any cash change, so I just had to buy a sandwich. It's probably got stuck in something in my teeth. And now on my way to where I'm supposed to be staying. But this is what a tram looks like. There we go. It's quite nice. Very old school. Hey, so I've checked in successfully. Nice place. Just had a shower. Wearing the same t-shirt though. Limited clothing with me because I've only taken hand luggage, so using every piece of clothing wisely. I still feel fresh. So now the ambition is to go and just explore. So this is what I'm going to do.
Now the city, it's divided into 4 zones, you know, each occupied by a power, the American, the British, the Russian, and the French. But the center of the city, that's international, policed by an international patrol, one member of each of the 4 powers. Wonderful. Vienna doesn't really look any worse than a lot of other European cities. Bombed about a bit. Oh, I was going to tell you, wait, I was going to tell you about Harley Martins, an American. Came all the way here to visit a friend of his. The name was Lime, Harry Lime.
So obviously I'm from London, and London has a town hall that looks like a gonad. If you don't know what a gonad is, a testicle. Whereas Austria has a town hall that looks like this. Austria, you're winning, by the way. This is far nicer than London's town hall. But I'm sure your politicians aren't as corrupt as ours. Beautiful building though, beautiful. So just next to this magnificent town hall, far better than London's Gonad, which has the mayor of London City can't start in it. This town hall is putting on a film festival. I think it goes through the entire month of August, and in this film festival we have people dodging in the camera thinking I'm facing it the other way. It's quite amusing. We have this sort of like little area. We have our beers. This is a what is this? This is from Salzburg, and it's a Stiegel. So it tastes pretty good actually. It's very good beer. The Austrians, just like the Germans, have good taste in beer. If you like your beers, Austria is certainly a good place to come for beer. My ambition is to try quite a few beers tonight, so let's see what happens. So the first thing I noticed about Vienna and the way festivals are conducted here, they do it far more civilized than the Brits do, or far more civilized than anyone does. Note, I don't know if you can see, but every single table that has drinks is drinking out of glasses. Now I tell you something, if you're in England and you get served beer or wine in a sort of outdoor area, you get served in a plastic because we can't be trusted. Now, what's even more interesting is, for example, there's just all these little stands that are selling food. Food is being served on real plates. I know this seems ridiculous to even comment on, but for me, it's a sort of it is quite a big deal. Look, notice there's plates. Everyone's got plates. It's kind of, you see here, everyone's got plates. Eat out the chips there as well, but it's an interesting, civilized plate. He has a plate. That's so civilized.
Wie viel habt ihr gezahlt?
Dubrovnik.
Das ist egal, das ist Urlaubszeit.
Ich bin verliebt in Dubrovnik.
Wunderbar, wunderbar. Jetzt kannst du hingehen und siehst eine zerstörte Stadt. Spür aus.
Wahrscheinlich hat er es angeschifft.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it for lunch today. I'm sorry. I met a guy on the train and I got off with him in Vienna. We're still there.
Are you crazy?
Probably.
So before I hit the bars, I want to give you a little bit of insight into where I am. This is the Hofburg Wen Museum, but it's the main sort of history museum. Yes, I just showed you pictures, videos of horses going past beautiful buildings. Just to give you sort of flavour of what it smells like. It smells like horse manure around here. But that's not the issue. I grew up with horses, I like horses. The issue is, anytime you see horses pulling carriages in cities, that is mistreatment of animals. These animals generally will be worked until they sort of keel over, and then I've seen it numerous times in cities all over the world. New York is one of those cities. Morocco, as you saw in one of my previous videos, has horses pulling carts. This is a Western city. This is one of Europe's richest countries, and we're still allowing horses to pull naive, stupid tourists along on their little romantic sort of escapades. It's unacceptable. If you see this, just say no.
Drama? Go to the opera.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, I am.
Am I correct in assuming that is the Chancellor of Austria?
Okay, so it's my second day in Vienna, first full day. I have to admit, done the same procedure as last time, feeling worse for wear. Certainly got to experience the nightlife in Vienna. Impressed. A little bit limiting in terms of bars. Great for couples, I think. A lot of very nice sort of American type style, old-fashioned cocktail bars. Found a few dive bars. I certainly found an amazing techno club. Sadly, none of this is on film. Can't film on techno clubs. Plus, by that stage, my battery had died. I'm now in everyone's way. So, time to explore the rest of the city. Let's go to work. I'm just to the west of the centre, a little bit past where the loop goes of the railway tracks. It's a big market. There's a lot of streets, just markets. A lot of nice stalls. Slightly unrecognisable in certain parts in terms of, do you actually feel like you're in Austria? Most of the languages being spoken are certainly not German, and they're certainly not English. But it's a good atmosphere, but it's super hot. It's about 35 degrees today, so it's very, very hot, and it's a bit of sweat on my brow. But I'm enjoying the sort of atmosphere. So I wanted to get my dinosaur fix. There's a museum sort of past this little really pleasant park, but sadly it's only open on Wednesday, and today's Saturday, so I'm not going to get my dinosaur fix this time. So I'm going to go see the Sigmund Freud Museum. Holds a little sort of, I think everyone's familiar with Sigmund Freud. Studied psychology at A level. Obviously didn't pursue it any further than that, but I'd say a good 6 months of the psychology course was studying Sigmund Freud, and he came up again and again in each exam that we took. I'm not an expert on psychology, although I did study it, quite a lot for 2 years solidly, and have shown an interest ever since. So it'll be interesting to go see this museum. Let's go find out. Sigmund Freud, obviously from Vienna, Austria. Wow, I got a little bit sidetracked. Still on the route to the Sigmund Freud Museum, but sidetracked by this amazing Gothic church. Quite peaceful when you go inside. Obviously, me, tourist, filming a little bit, but I was being quiet. but it's a truly impressive church. You obviously can see it's going through renovation. It was built, in fact, to commemorate the emperor had an attempted assassination here in the early 19th century. So they built this as a sort of thanks that he survived, I think. If I'm slightly wrong on that, please correct me on the comments, but that's the gist that I've understood of why it was built, I think in 1839. I will correct the date here if I'm wrong on that date, but I think I'm close.
Where do we land now? Dude, it's Sigmund Freud. How much time we got left? Tons. Why? Extra credit, dude.
Absolutely no objection to your studying telepathy or parapsychology to your heart's content. But I would make the point that our own field is so embattled that it can only be dangerous to stray into any kind of mysticism. Don't you see, we have to stay within the most rigorously scientific confines.
Dreamed about a horse being hoisted by cables to a considerable height. Suddenly a cable breaks and the horse is dashed to the ground, but it's not hurt. It leaps up and gallops away, impeded only by a heavy log which it's obliged to drag along the ground. Then a rider on a small horse appears in front of it so that it's forced to slow down, and a carriage appears in front of the small horse so that our horse is compelled to slow down even more.
Log.
Yes.
I think perhaps you should entertain the possibility that it represents the penis.
Yes.
Ted's father's own fear of failure has caused him to make his son the embodiment of all of his own deepest anxieties about himself. And hence, his aggression transference onto Ted.
Wow.
There we go. There was the Museum of Sigmund Freud. Actually, it was his old office where he used to analyze his patients. So, as you saw there, you saw the sofa where the patients would lie down, and he would sort of conduct his psychoanalysis on his patients and then also himself. Fascinating sort of insight into, truly inspiring man. $7.50 if you're a student, €12 if you're an adult, and I think it's less for kids, but it was certainly worth seeing. I found another little mini festival in this great park just to the east of the centre. Stood out on the map for me because it has this object. I have to admit, I don't know what it is. Is it some sort of... is it a water storage unit? Is it electricity? Is it something else? Is it a relic of the war? I'm gonna go find out. So, right above me, behind me, is a Flak Tower. Like I said, I didn't actually know what one it was. Slight ignorance, but it's one of the reasons we travel. Flak Tower was built by the Nazis in 1942 to basically protect the city of Vienna from air raids. Cannons could be positioned at the top, with also floodlights, which would sort of, they'd be able to gun down enemy planes being the Allies, the British, well, some great Polish fighter pilots, and the Americans, and then also some others, because a lot of people were on the Allies. But what in a way, an amazing sight, and the graffiti around the side that you just saw pretty much says it. Hopefully, never again do we get the Nazis. But I think it's a nice bit of history, a nice way to remember it. And then this massive park. It's huge. It's really huge. So I'm going to go explore more, enjoy it, because it's so hot. It's 35 degrees, and if I take in the shaded areas, it's okay. What I like about this is there's urban gardening right in the center of Vienna. So people who may live in apartments, they can get their little allotment right in the center. And then of course right next to the allotments, amazing cycle paths. It's with the road far away, so the cyclists are in no danger whatsoever. This is how a city should be designed, you know? Allotments, footpaths that I'm walking on, cycle paths, and then sort of one-way system, so this traffic isn't going two-way, and it's not just, you know, there's a flow. It's you know, clearly the beautiful town hall, the town planners have been inspired by that building and set about building a beautiful city. It's super hot. It's 36 degrees now. Thought I'd stop off, have a quick sort of refresher. These sort of little beer houses, sort of, it's tiny little beer house. It's quite, I had to stop just for the sure novelty value of the place. But drinking a Stiegel. Anyway, cheers.
This is a nice bridge.
Yeah. This is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, it's a little awkward. But it's all right, right?
So yeah, this is great. This is great. Let's go to some places. Look at your book.
We're in Vienna. Let's go to some places.
Okay.
Excuse me. Sprechen Sie English?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah? Good.
Do you speak German for a change?
What?
No, it was a joke.
Well, listen, we just got into Vienna today, and we're looking for something fun to do.
Like museums, exhibition, things.
But museums are not that funny anymore these days.
See, this is another example of what I love about Vienna. They've got this ingenuity of, they've used this old barge boat, like tanker. I'm not sure how you would describe that. You could effectively transport rubbish down the river, or you could transport goods down the river, but instead they've moored it up. There's restaurants on the top of the boat, but we've seen that before. We've seen that in places like London, we've seen that in cities around the world. But what they've done here, they've put a swimming pool, and they've also put a football court. I guess it could double up as a basketball court as well, on top of the swimming pool. And I must say, it's still 36 degrees, and what an appealing place to be when you're in the center of the city, just here. You go check it out. After a late lunch, didn't make it to the swimming pool actually, I got a little bit distracted. I needed food and I got distracted by another beer. I'm now in the sort of district of Leopoldstraat, and there's this big park where apparently there's another beer garden, so one must check that out. Plus there's a restaurant called the Roller Coaster. Apparently you can order via your iPad, and then the food gets sent to you via via a roller coaster, so I kind of want to check that out despite the fact I've just eaten. Let's go see.
Victims? Don't be melodramatic. Look down there. Would you really feel any pity if one of those dots? God. Well, I still do believe in God only. I believe in God and mercy and all that, but the dead are happier dead. They don't miss much here, poor devils.
It's like a free Disneyland in the center of Vienna.
But you know, man, there's nobody left in Vienna I can really trust, and we've always done everything together. When you make up your mind, send me a message. I'll meet you any place, any time, and when we do meet, old man, it's you I want to see, not the police.
Those that have visited New York or are New Yorkers in themselves, this feels a little bit like Coney Island, except not next to the sea. Definitely very old school. Feels kind of almost Victorian, except with a few modernizations like this behind me. But the rest of it feels very Victorian. Or am I completely off the mark on that? I think I may have got it confused, because I'm not finding a roller coaster restaurant, but I'm finding a lot of roller coasters. It's kitsch, it's incredibly kitsch, but you know what? Why not? If you've got the space in the city to have a permanent free amusement park like this, and remember, if you remember, in Kharkov had the same thing in Ukraine. This Vienna. You're giving Kharkov a run for its money with its free amusement park. Obviously it's not free because you got to pay for each individual ride, but it's nice it's nice to have the option, I think. Tacky, kitsch, but it's fun.
Not that awful. Well, what the fella said. In Italy, for 30 years under the Borgias, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed, but they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace, and what did that produce? The cuckoo clock. So long, Holly.
Not as impressive as Munich, but in every way just as traditional, even though it's on the edge of a theme park. This is a typical sort of German sort of, you know, beer house, big sort of wrapping them up, the big sort of beer glasses. Well, there's actually smaller beer glasses here, so maybe the thing, so the Austrians don't do the Steins, they just do smaller beers, which looks like half litres, almost a pint. So the Germans obviously can outdrink the Austrians. But at the same time, their neighbours certainly like to sit outside, have a good beer, eat almost exactly the same food, to be honest. Sausages, mustard. Countries are very similar, but obviously they won't admit that. Both amazing countries in my mind. It's quite a theme in cities all over the world now to have urban beaches. These are sort of, you know, they dump the sand next to the rivers, or in some cases, like in London, Shoreditch, they dump the sand next to the buildings, although they haven't done that in a while. But it's a nice vibe. As you can see, everyone's just sort of enjoying themselves. Not bad, eh? Not bad. Anyway, cheers.
So he was there helping out and everything. But he said at that profound moment of birth, he was watching his child experiencing life for the first time, trying to take his first breath. All he could think about was that he was looking at something that was gonna die someday. He just couldn't get it out of his head. And I think that's so true. You know, everything is so finite. But don't you think that's what makes our time and specific moments so important?
about 13 miles today. Not finished yet, but according to my Stepometer, about 13 miles. And I still haven't covered the whole city. There's so much around every single corner. Everywhere I go, there's a fascinating church, there's a fascinating building, there's an interesting little bar. I mean, it's a really nice city, has to be said. If you haven't been here, I urge you to sort of come check it out. But it's a very, very nice place. Hen party. This guy just got out of the taxi completely starkers. So I've decided that I'm going to go watch Carmen at the opera. Although I'm not going to the opera house, I'm actually going to be watching it in the outside amphitheatre, which is just back here. I can't take my phone in, they ask us to turn the phones off, so it's going to be played on this screen and I'm going to be sitting somewhere slightly closer. So that's going to be my cultural experience for the night. I'll let you know how it goes. Wow, that was a lot of culture. Just managed to sit through Carmen. It was a sort of modern rendition of Carmen. I think it was played originally at the Vienna Opera House, and then it was basically screened live to the audience, not live, but it was played again to the audience. I would suggest there was a few thousand people watching. It was very good. I would have shown you the government building, their parliament, which is over here, but it's pretty difficult to see. This is literally the best angle I can get. It's all boarded up because there's heavy renovation going on. It's pretty damn late now, so I'm going to probably head back. Literally, I have been out all day, so there's not going to be much of tonight's nightlife, but more exploring tomorrow.
Muchas gracias.
Hey, so it's Sunday in Vienna. I actually woke up to Ultravox Vienna playing, which was, I thought, quite cool. I like that. Everything's closed. To be honest, everything seems to be closed most of the time. They close early in lots of streets, but then nothing's open on a Sunday. I found one bakery, no cafes, no restaurants. I'm not quite in the center, so this could be the problem, but I'm not far from the center. Plan today, I'm going to go to the zoo. Maybe I'm missing out on a little bit of culture for going to the zoo, but I quite fancy seeing some pandas today. And I have a massive blister on my right foot from walking in bad shoes. I walked 15 miles yesterday in the sweltering heat, hence the reason I look a little bit lobster-like today. Anyway, let's go. Okay, so I was on my way to see the zoo, but like everything in life, you find distractions. Obviously, you just noticed all of the tourists. It's always strange, isn't it? The only ones that shy away from the sun are generally sort of the Chinese or Koreans or Japanese. Now, it's very sensible. They must look at us Europeans like we're idiots because we're constantly getting pink in the sun. Now, you wonder why they will outlive us, because they avoid the sun. But it is a little bit cooler today. It's only 33 degrees today, so I'm going to go inside this palace, check it out. This is 18th century palace. Apparently the likes of Mozart and everything were entertained in here. Obviously I could be wrong on that. Let me find out a little bit of information and let's go see what it's all about. But here we are. Hey, so here's a tip. If you are visiting Vienna and you want to go to the Schrubenhauel Palace, I'm obviously saying this completely wrong, correct me in the comments below, but if you want to go, book your tickets in advance, because I've just turned up on a Sunday and there's no availability. So I can't actually get into the palace, and this is my last day. This is just the weekend of Vienna, remember? So if you really must go on their website, book a ticket in advance, or come on the day that you arrive, buy a ticket for the following day, or come very early. That's probably the best way to do it, and you'll get to see this magnificent palace. Now, it turns out it was actually built in the late 17th century, somewhere around 1693 or something like that. It's been restored multiple times. The wings have been added to it, but many emperors and noble people have been entertained here and have entertained here. Very impressive, obviously. I think you could see from the little guidebook I thumbed through what would be inside the palace. You know, some very regal rooms, right up your auntie's street, should she ever be in Vienna. Probably not for everyone, but it's certainly a nice place. Now, let's go and see some creatures on my level. I'm going to go see some monkeys at the zoo. The good news is, if you don't have a ticket for the palace that's just behind me, and we saw the front of that, and now I've just walked all the way around it, you can get into the gardens. You can buy a ticket for the private gardens, which are just over there, tiny little sliver of garden, but very beautiful, for €3.90. Or you can skip that little garden and you can just take in this amazing regal landscape. And I'm going to climb. Well, I'm not going to climb really, I'm going to go up there to the hill, check out that mound, and apparently on the other side is the zoo. So we'll get there eventually. So, wow, it's hot. A good picture is always going to be ruined at places like this. You're never going to get it tourist free, just a heads up.
Hij wilde hebben ook op de foto staan. Misschien.
Well, it's not a mountain and it's not a very big hill, but at 33 degrees with the temperature, it makes you sweat. But what a view, look at this. This is effectively sort of western Vienna over here, southwestern Vienna really, because we're quite far south with where we are. So, well, that's the north that way, but if you were to look at it in terms of the perspective, the center is that way. I'm pointing, if you can see, behind those trees effectively. You can imagine a lot of regal people entertained here, and didn't they do well?
Er war ein Punker und er lebte in der großen Stadt. Es war in Wien, war Vienna, wo er alles tat. Er hatte Schulden, denn er trank, doch ihn liebten alle Frauen. Und jede rief, na kann man Rock me Amadeus. Na kann man Rock me Amadeus, do it.
I made an exception to one of my rules. One of my rules is don't drink tap water. However, I'm hoping that this area is served by the Austrian Alps. I'm hoping the nation of Austria doesn't add weird things to its water like I know some governments do. Fluoride is not a good thing to add to water, by the way. So I've just filled this water up. I know it's good for the planet to fill plastic up, but I use plastic bottles obsessively in terms of I do buy plastic bottles of water every single day. Obviously I try to recycle the plastic bottles by giving them to recycling centres, but I know that some of them do end up in the trash. But for the sole reason I do not trust tap water. So I made an exception today, filled this up at the top. Hopefully the water is not going to poison me. Anyway, what are your thoughts on tap water and using bottled water? I hesitate using bottled water, but I have to because I've noticed there's a massive correlation between when I was drinking tap water, I would get sick on a regular basis. When I stopped drinking tap water, I got sick a lot less often. So as hot as you'd expect the tropics to be, I'm inside the tropical experience. Only letdown is there's a lot of tourists here. But you could take out all the tourists and possibly come on a Monday, not a Sunday. This would be very nice. It's so hot in here. 33 outside, rainforest, but I'm surrounded by all these beautiful birds. I don't know if you see them, but there's one just behind me up there. They're sort of all flying everywhere, tiny little birds. But it's hot and sweaty. It's just like the jungle in here. It's very, very cool.
balance là dans le camping, tu sais, avant.
Just penguins. Well, penguins are our flesh and feathers. They're us. And if anyone's gonna save us, it's us.
Just some thoughts on the zoo so far. Huge polar bear enclosure. Now, I know you and I are in two minds about keeping polar bears in captivity, but the thing is, when they're being hunted to extinction and their habitat is literally disappearing as climate change is taking effect, climate change deniers, you're wrong. Go look at maps of the Arctic and the glaciers of the Arctic. You will see the ice is simply disappearing. Loved the bat enclosure. I tried capturing some of that on film, but the thing is, you can't have a light on in there, and that was truly amazing. The bats were literally flying around my head. One hit the back of my head, one hit on my shoulder, and at one stage I thought one had gripped hold of my trousers. It was literally that dark. That was honestly one of the best bat displays I've ever seen. Normally, to see bats like that, you have to go into the wild, you have to go in caves, you have to sort of go into barns, you know, at night time, and you'll see them flying around, but not like that in a sort of captivity way. That was quite amazing. The one thing that has made me sad so far is seeing the emperor penguins. The emperor penguins were literally side by side with the smaller penguins. Forgive me, I can't quite remember the ones with the tufts on their ears. The smaller penguins, they can pretty much handle sort of habitats like this. Emperor penguins, they spend their entire life living in the South Pole. To expose them to a climate like this and just a tiny little space like this just isn't fair. I would prefer not to see the emperor penguins in right behind me here, one of the reasons these animals have to be protected in this sort of reasonably big space, it's not ideal though, but it's a space, is because there are bastards on this planet that hunt them simply for the horn at the end of their nose. One small piece, probably no bigger, sometimes no bigger than this, a little bit bigger sometimes. That amazing animal is taken, or not taken, just simply slaughtered for its horn, and we must stop this, but I don't think we will.
We have a huge problem, which if not addressed will result in the extinction of rhinos within the next 10 years. Since 2007, 5,940 rhinos have been poached. That averages out to about 3 rhinos per day. This is unacceptable. The primary reason and motivation for poaching rhinos is greed. A kilogram of rhino horn is worth more than a kilogram of gold. Currently, a kilogram of rhino horn fetches over $70,000 on the black market. Demand is fueled by the false belief that rhino horn cures various diseases such as AIDS and cancer. This fallacy drives a ruthless illegal industry. A species that has been on the planet for 50 million years is under threat of extinction if we do not do something now.
No, I can't be bothered with that. I have no time for that sort of nonsense.
Das heißt, dass aber Pflichten ein neuer Zahn nachkommt und die Tiere haben insgesamt mit dem Milchgebiss auch einen 6-maligen Zahnwechsel. Danach wäre es jeder Tiere theoretisch beendet, wobei man sagen muss, dass es in der
Show them respect. The elephants created this jungle, where they made furrows with their tusks the rivers ran. Where they blew at their trunks, the leaves fell. They made all that belongs. The mountains, the trees, the birds in the tree.
Dass es da überhaupt keine Rolle mehr spielt. Wenn man dann quasi genau ein bisschen weiterfolgt und den Verlauf dann kommt, dann wird das Ganze sehr schnell verändert und das ist dann auch keine Rolle. Das heißt, die Tiere haben das eben
I've just been in the birdhouse, trying to listen to the amazing birds that you see in that birdhouse, and every single tourist thinks it's a thing to sort of start shouting and drowning out the sound of the birds. I don't want to hear the tourists, I want to hear the birds. Please, please keep your voices down when inside a birdhouse. Hey, so that was the zoo. Apologies for the never-ending sort of visual shots of animals. That wasn't even that was not even a fraction of the animals that are in the zoo. I think the zoo. I'm going to look this up when I edit the video, but I think the animals in that zoo total over 8,800. I asked the girl on the kiosk. She may be right. She may be wrong. It was a really nice place. Like I say, the only objection I had was seeing the emperor penguins in captivity. One of the few places in the world that's left untouched is the South Pole. We do not need to be invading their space. All in all, 20 euros. It's not cheap, but it's certainly a price worth paying. If you think of it as about 5 euros per hour, I spent 4 hours there. So if you think that's value, I do. It's well worth the trip. My feet once again are aching. I'm gonna go find something to eat because I'll be honest, I didn't really fancy much food in there. There was one restaurant that served some good food, but it was overcrowded. So I'm gonna save myself for now. I'm gonna go find some nice food. But so far, Vienna, you have been amazing. Hey, excuse the lights behind me and sort of very unpleasant scenery, but this is me leaving Vienna. Thank you very much, Vienna. You've been amazing. I apologize, I didn't get to see everything I wanted to see. I didn't even get to see a fraction of what I wanted to see. I didn't see Mozart's house. You can tell me in the comments all the things I didn't see, but the reality was I walked a total of 38 miles over the course of a long weekend. I'm leaving late on Sunday night, just at the bus station to go to my next destination. No glamorous travel here. We're possibly in one of the worst bus stations in the free world. But Vienna's, the rest of Vienna, if you ignore the bus station, it's a fantastic place. So I want to just say thanks for getting to the end of this video. It's been a long video, I know. Also, if you're not one of those kind people that's already subscribed, click subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much. Cheers.